Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine you are sitting at a draft table, right?
Oh, the classic high-pressure setup.
Exactly. You have your roster sheet right in front of you, your pen is poised,
Yeah.
and the clock is it's ticking down.
Sweaty palms time.
Yeah, totally. You are asked to draft a fantasy sports team from this massive, massive pool of talent.
Okay, sounds simple enough so far.
Right. But here's the catch. Nobody will tell you what sport you're actually playing.
Which is just, I mean, that's terrifying.
It really is. Are you drafting a team to play, like, full-contact football? Or are you playing competitive chess?
Or, trying to survive a sudden zombie apocalypse.
Yes. Or maybe you're just organizing a really tense high-society diplomatic gala. You have absolutely no idea.
You're completely in the dark.
Completely. You just have to pick your players, lock in your roster, and step right into the unknown.
It is the ultimate exercise in drafting blind, really.
It really is.
Because you are being forced to build a highly complex machine, right? But nobody is handing you the blueprints for what that machine is actually supposed to manufacture.
Which puts a ridiculous amount of psychological weight on the person making those selections.
Absolutely.
And that is exactly the scenario we are exploring today in our deep dive into the Manaheim Academy draft.
It's such a fascinating thought experiment.
Right. And for those of you who have been following the breakdown of this whole concept, you probably know the premise.
But we should probably establish exactly what we are looking at in our source material today.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
Because this isn't a literal sports draft.
No, not at all. It's an intense, highly structured psychological case study. It's just disguised as a fantasy draft.
Disguised very well, I might add.
True. We are looking at a hypothetical pool of 111 distinct students.
Right, from the fictional Manaheim Academy.
And every single student in this pool has a unique profile, a very specific set of skills, and a distinct personality archetype.
But the real genius of this exercise, I think, lies in the people actually doing the drafting.
Oh, 100%. The source material outlines 10 distinct subpersonalities, right? And they are acting as our team captains.
Which is such a wild concept. These aren't just random coaches pulled off the street.
Exactly. They represent fragmented aspects of a single human psyche.
So each captain brings their own deeply ingrained worldview.
Right. Their own fears, their own specific definitions of what success even looks like.
And the mechanics of this draft are incredibly rigorous.
Very. So each of these 10 captains is looking at that exact same pool of 111 students.
And they need to select 9 students to form a 10-person roster.
Because, of course, the roster includes themselves as the captain.
Right. So 10 teams of 10. That means an even 100 students will be drafted.
Leaving exactly 11 students unpicked, just left on the board.
Which means the margin for error here is razor thin.
Oh, yeah. And it operates as a classic snake draft, right?
A snake draft, yeah. So the selection order goes sequentially from Captain 1 down to Captain 10.
But then it snakes back.
Right. So Captain 10 gets the 10th pick and then immediately gets the 11th pick to start the second round.
Working backward from 10 to 1.
Which is designed to ensure fairness, obviously.
Obviously, yeah. But it completely alters the psychological landscape of the draft floor.
Because once a student is picked, they're permanently gone.
Right. And as the draft pool shrinks, and the obvious talent vanishes, the pressure on these captains just scales exponentially.
It really does. And hanging over this entire process is that massive twist we started with.
The unknown objective.
Yes. The objective of the final teams is entirely unknown. It is completely TBD.
Which means this draft isn't actually an evaluation of the fictional students at all.
Wait, say more about that.
Well, it's a psychological inkblot test for the captains themselves.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because when you strip away the rules of the game, when you remove the actual win conditions, a captain's draft strategy becomes a naked reflection of their core values.
Because they have nothing else to go on.
Exactly. It reveals how they process ambiguity, what they fundamentally fear, and what traits they believe are just, non-negotiable when navigating absolute uncertainty.
That is so cool. So in this deep dive, we are going to track the most notable picks round by round.
We've got to look at the intense rivalries that formed on the draft floor, too.
No, the rivalries get so good. And eventually we'll evaluate the strengths and the fatal flaws of the resulting teams.
But before a single name is called, we really need to understand the minds of the people making the selections.
Right, because if you don't know the objective, how do you even decide who to draft?
Let's start with the captains taking a strictly pragmatic approach.
Okay, let's talk about Devin. Because Devin's worldview is just incredibly blunt.
Chillingly practical, really.
Yeah. Devin states in the source material, uh, when the ship is taking on water at 2 a.m., who do I want standing beside me with a bucket?
Which reveals a profound underlying assumption about Devon's worldview.
That everything is going to go horribly wrong.
Basically, yes. If you do not know what is coming, assume the absolute worst.
Devin wants a team of resilient, hardened individuals, right? People who make cold, calculated decisions under extreme duress.
Exactly. If the external system collapses, Devon is looking for the raw materials, the people who just do not break.
I mean, I understand the logic. I really do. But isn't that kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy?
How do you mean?
Well, if you build a team solely for a disaster, you are essentially guaranteeing a miserable experience unless a disaster actually happens.
Oh, for sure.
Like if the unknown objective turns out to be, I don't know, throwing a community festival, Devon's team of hardened survivalists is going to be a disaster in its own right.
You are touching on the exact vulnerability of extreme pragmatism right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Devon is optimizing for survival, but totally at the expense of versatility.
But Devon isn't the only pragmatist on the board.
No, we have to look at Val, too.
Right, Val. Val is equally pragmatic, but the psychological framing is entirely different.
What's fascinating here is that Devon is preparing for a sinking ship, right? But Val is preparing for a grueling climb.
A climb. Yeah, Val explicitly states they're building a team to summit mountains.
Seeking out difficult challenges that require discipline, relentless work ethic, and, pure ambition.
Right. Val is prioritizing work ethic over raw talent.
Because Val's argument is that while natural talent gives you a head start, it's effort that actually dictates your trajectory.
Val is essentially asking, how does this person respond to a setback? Are they hungry?
Exactly. Val doesn't want a team that just survives the night like Devon does. Val wants a team that dominates the landscape.
They want a board of highly capable leaders.
And here's the catch. What happens when you put 10 ambitious alpha personalities in a room without a clear hierarchy?
Oh man, just constant power struggles.
That is the exact friction Val is risking.
Okay, so contrast both Devon and Val with the captains drafting for community and emotional safety.
Right, the heart builders.
Yeah. If Devon wants the person with the bucket and Val wants the person with the climbing gear,
Bannock is looking for the person who makes sure everyone else is okay.
Bannock's philosophy is just so deeply rooted in servant leadership.
It really is. The driving question for Bannock is whether they can build something sustainable and meaningful together.
So Bannock actively avoids lone wolves, no matter how talented they are.
Right. You could have a student with off-the-charts magical ability and perfect athletic scores.
But if they undermine group cohesion, Bannock just will not draft them.
Bannock wants absolute trust.
Because Bannock is drafting for the long game.
Precisely. Because an unknown objective might take years to solve.
And if your team fundamentally disguises each other, the objective is irrelevant.
Right.
You have already lost.
You've lost before you even started. Now, Kelly takes this approach even further.
Kelly really drills down to the individual emotional level.
Kelly prioritizes kindness, extreme empathy, and a growth mindset over raw talent.
The core question for Kelly isn't like how smart you are. It's, will this person make the group better?
Kelly observes how a student treats people who cannot offer them any immediate advantage.
Which is such a good metric for character.
Yeah.
I really see the appeal of Kelly's strategy, especially compared to Devon.
The contrast is huge.
Yeah. Devon wants the bucket at 2 a.m. Kelly wants the person who will comfort the terrified passengers while the ship goes down.
That's a great way to put it.
But again, I have to push back a little here.
Go for it.
Comforting the passengers doesn't actually stop the ship from sinking.
No, it does not.
If Kelly drafts entirely for empathy and totally ignores hard tactical skills, doesn't that team just become a very supportive, emotionally healthy group of people who completely fail the objective?
It is a massive risk. Kelly is essentially betting that emotional resilience will eventually lead to problem solving.
Which is a big if.
Right, because you're right, empathy cannot plug a hole in a hole.
Exactly.
And this is exactly why Kenny's approach is so compelling in contrast.
Kenny, the systems thinker.
Yes. Kenny steps away from both raw survival and pure emotion and drafts entirely for systems.
Kenny asks, what are we building? Rather than, what do I get right now?
Kenny values integrity, infrastructure, accountability, and reliability above all else.
Right. Kenny wants to know that if a student makes a commitment, they will actually follow through.
Because Kenny is preparing for an unknown objective by building a highly organized bureaucracy.
A bureaucracy capable of processing literally any variable thrown at it.
Exactly. Kenny represents structural order.
But rigid systems often shatter when they get hit by a truly unprecedented variable, don't they?
They do, and that is where Tira's philosophy comes in.
Tira represents fluid wisdom.
Right. Contrast Kenny's rigid systems with Tira's approach. Tira wants curiosity, deep reflectiveness, and a high tolerance for complexity.
Tira specifically seeks out students who acknowledge how much they still have to learn. Humility is the currency for Tira.
Absolutely. The logic is that students who think they already know the answers are impossible to teach when the paradigm shifts.
Tira wants people who can sit in the discomfort of a difficult question,
Mm-hmm.
without demanding an immediate, poorly thought-out answer.
Which is a beautiful philosophy. Truly, but wisdom grows slowly.
Ah, right.
If the unknown objective is a 10-minute ticking time bomb,
Oh, no.
yeah, Tira's circle of reflective scholars might still be debating the philosophical nature of the bomb when it actually detonates.
That's hilarious and terrifying. Every philosophy has a blind spot.
They really do, and the blind spots get even larger when we look at the final four captains.
Yes, Liz, Mac, Addy, and Tommy.
The chaos coordinators.
Here's where it gets really interesting. This is the quadrant of the draft board where the strategies become incredibly unpredictable.
Totally unhinged in some cases. Let's start with Liz.
Liz is drafting purely for power, charisma, and aesthetic dominance.
If a student walks into a room and the energy shifts, Liz wants them.
Liz wants main character energy. The criteria are presence, ambition, and an innate understanding of social leverage.
Because Liz understands that power is not a system, it is a perception.
Power flows through people.
Exactly. If Liz's team is perceived by everyone else as the most influential and important group.
They effectively become the most important group.
Right. They shape the reality of the game before the game even officially begins.
Okay, then there's Mac. Mac is also drafting for social ecosystem dominance, but the flavor is entirely different from Liz.
Oh, completely. Mac is the ultimate vibe checker.
Yes. Mac wants good vibes, authenticity, humor, people who do not constantly perform for others.
Mac's guiding question is simply, do I genuinely enjoy being around them?
Which seems so simple, but it's actually deep.
Mac is drafting for morale. If the unknown objective is agonizingly difficult and miserable.
Mac wants the team that could laugh through the misery.
Right, and support each other without any rigid hierarchy getting in the way.
Then we have Addy, who takes a similar experiential approach, but adds this really restless energy to it.
Addy relies on what she calls the campfire test.
I love this test. It's basically, would she want to sit around a fire with them?
Simple as that. She wants explorers, underdogs, and just people who make life feel more vibrant.
Addy does not care about power or systems. Addy cares exclusively about the journey.
Which brings us to Tommy.
Like Tommy.
Tommy's strategy is arguably the most brilliant or the most delusional, depending entirely on how you look at it.
Right, because if there is no objective, Tommy's strategy is, let's build a team that can invent the objective if nobody gives us one. I find that strategy so fascinating. Tommy is drafting for creativity and curiosity.
Looking for the weirdos, essentially.
The students with bizarre hobbies and niche interests who look at a problem from an angle that, say, Kenny's highly structured system wouldn't even recognize as an angle.
Exactly. So those are the 10 captains, 10 heavily conflicting worldviews, all sitting at a single draft table.
And with those criteria locked in, the draft begins.
Let's look at rounds 1 and 2.
Yes, because in a snake draft, the first 2 picks establish the entire DNA of a team.
These are crucial.
So Addy holds the #1 overall pick.
Which, in a pool of 111 highly capable students, is an immense advantage.
But it also carries massive opportunity cost.
Huge.
And Addy uses the very first pick of the entire draft on Bailey Porter, whose title is literally The Explorer.
I love this move so much. Addy says, we're not even 5 minutes into this thing, and you expect me not to pick the Explorer.
She establishes her road trip mentality immediately.
She really does. She isn't overthinking the tactical advantage of the #1 pick. She is just securing the thematic anchor of her team.
But the opportunity cost is staggering.
Right, because by taking the Explorer, Addy leaves the most intellectually gifted and physically dominant students on the board for everyone else.
Which Bannock immediately takes advantage of at #2.
Bannock selects Chris Aaron, the Golden Boy.
A prominent student from the Azure Bears house.
Bannock's servant leadership philosophy is just on full display here. Chris is naturally respected across different houses. He's dependable.
And people naturally want to follow him.
Right. Bannock is drafting a co-architect for the community he wants to build.
Then Devon steps up. And remember, Devon assumes the ship is actively sinking.
Devon goes straight for performance under pressure and drafts Ty Clyde, the all-star.
Devon justifies this by saying that talent alone isn't enough. But people do not become all-stars by accident.
Exactly. Ty knows how to compete and, more importantly, how to process intense pressure.
When the disaster strikes, Devon wants the person whose nervous system is literally accustomed to high-stakes performance.
It's a very calculated pick.
Now, Kelly sticks to the empathy script and drafts Penelope Walker, the therapist.
Kelly notes that teams inevitably fracture when people stop listening to one another.
Right. So drafting a student whose core competency is making others feel heard provides an essential emotional foundation.
I actually really like this pick.
Me too. If you don't know what you're facing, ensuring your team has a built-in mechanism for conflict resolution is a very smart hedge.
It's a great hedge. Much like Kenny's pick, honestly.
Kenny, the systems thinker, grabs Kristen Cuthin, the walking encyclopedia.
Because Kenny states that having someone who possesses broad, cross-disciplinary knowledge is the ultimate hedge against uncertainty.
Tristan is essentially the human search engine for Kenny's bureaucracy.
Exactly. But the draft floor really ignites when we get to Liz and Matt.
Oh man, this is where the theoretical philosophies clash with the reality of a shared talent pool.
The rivalry sparks instantly.
Liz drafts Jazz Serrano, the cheerleader.
Because Liz understands influence.
Right, Liz argues that Jazz is a natural social connector. If people naturally want to be around your team, opportunities begin to materialize out of thin air.
Jazz understands the currency of influence.
And we get this very genuine reaction from Mac on the draft floor.
Mac just mutters, "Dang it!"
Because Mac clearly had Jazz targeted for the Good Vibes team.
But the social ecosystem talent pool is incredibly shallow, and Liz just took the absolute top prospect.
So what does Mac do? Mac immediately executes a spite draft.
A literal spike draft.
Yes, selecting Pete Peters, the class clown.
Mac justifies it by saying, "You stole Jazz, so I'm taking Pete. Life is too short to spend it with boring people."
Mac is arguing that if the world ends tomorrow, Pete will at least make everyone laugh while the sky falls.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is a fascinating dynamic.
How so?
Well, Liz and Mac are playing a completely different game than Devon or Val. They're entirely ignoring tactical utility and fighting a proxy war over who controls the emotional temperature of the academy.
They're drafting for social ecosystem dominance.
Exactly.
While they are fighting over vibes, the visionaries are quietly locking in their foundational pieces.
Right. Tira takes Marco Moon, the sage.
Tira argues that intelligence is common, but true wisdom is rare.
And Tommy immediately starts building a literal workshop.
It's so cool. In round one, Tommy takes Grant Runto, the Tinkerer.
And then, because of the snake draft format, Tommy gets a pick early in round two and doubles down.
Right, taking Mika Mizukari, the hacker.
Tommy's logic is bulletproof for his specific strategy: tinkerer and hacker.
Before the team has even fully formed, Tommy has established an engine of invention.
Tommy knows that a team designed to invent an objective needs people who naturally dismantle and reassemble systems.
We also have to talk about Val's opening moves. Because Val is captain number 10, Val possesses the turn.
Which is huge in a snake draft.
Right, Val gets the last pick of round one and the very first pick of round two back-to-back selections.
And Val uses this immense leverage to take Sydney Distanzic, the polymath, and Jack Jeffrey, Alpha Jack.
It's just awe-inspiring. The opportunity cost of the turn is that Val now has to wait 18 picks before selecting again.
But Val uses those back-to-back picks brilliantly.
Val explicitly states, "I don't need followers. I need people capable of leading their own teams."
Val is not building a traditional team. Val is building a high-functioning executive board.
It is terrifyingly efficient.
It really is.
But as we move out of the foundational rounds and into rounds 3 through 6, the obvious elite talent vanishes from the board.
This is where it gets tough. The captains are forced to dig deeper into their philosophies to find value.
And this is where we see immense friction and, frankly, some really questionable decision-making on the draft floor.
The contrast between Liz's team and Addy's team becomes really stark in these mid-rounds.
Okay, let's track Liz's picks. She follows up the cheerleader and the photographer by drafting Roker Ono, the heartbreaker, and Victoria Moretti, the actress.
And Mac actually calls her out publicly on the floor.
Yes. Mac yells out, "You're building a reality TV cast."
And Liz doesn't even deny it. She proudly agrees.
Because to Liz, charisma is a measurable currency. If people naturally gravitate toward these individuals, that gravity can be weaponized.
Contrast this with Addy's team. Addy is leaning fully into chaos.
Oh, completely. Addy drafts Blake Anderson, the Trailblazer, Mario Bonmarcio, the Wildheart, and Bucket of Brevoire, the Mermaid.
Addy looks at her roster and admits, quote, "I don't think I'm building a team anymore. I think I'm building a road trip."
She actually admits that. She realizes she's drafted an Explorer, a Trailblazer, and a Wildheart, and it is highly likely that none of them possess a basic map.
To which the Explorer shouts from the floor, "Maps are suggestions."
It's hilarious, but it highlights a massive vulnerability, Addy has zero infrastructure.
None. But while Addy is planning a chaotic vacation, Devin gets incredibly dangerous.
Okay, yeah. We need to talk about Devin here. In round 3, Devin drafts Chad Griffith, the bully.
And then in round 5, Devin drafts Mufasa Papaguava, the wild card.
I have to push back on Devin's strategy here.
Ha.
I completely reject the idea that you draft a bully for a survival scenario.
It's controversial, for sure.
Kelly is visibly concerned on the draft floor when this happens, and I am right there with Kelly. You do not draft a bully to solve a problem, because the bully is the problem.
In a standard setting, yes.
In a high-stress survival situation, a bully destroys trust, they hoard resources, they create internal paranoia. Devin is planting a bomb in his own bunker.
And your reaction is exactly why Devin was able to draft him as late as round 3. Everyone else avoided him.
Right.
But let's explain the why behind Devin's madness. Devin isn't drafting the bully to be friendly.
Well, obviously not.
Devin argues that aggression without discipline is a liability, but aggression with discipline wins fights. Devin is looking at the raw capacity for conflict.
But how does Devin intend to discipline a wild card?
Devin says, most wild cards are liabilities. The dangerous ones are assets. I want to know what happens when you point him at a problem.
That sounds like a manager who thinks they can control a toxic high performer.
Exactly.
History is littered with leaders who thought they could control a volatile asset only to have it completely turn on them.
It is an incredibly high-risk gamble. Devin is betting that his own leadership is strong enough to forge these volatile personalities into a weapon.
And if Devin fails, the team implodes violently.
But if Devin succeeds, the Night Watch becomes the most formidable tactical force on the board.
Okay, so while Devin is stockpiling weapons, Kelly is actively adopting the overlooked.
Kelly drafts Victor Tim, the lovable loser.
Simply because someone needs to look out for him. Kelly's reasoning is almost painfully empathetic.
Kelly says, somebody should pick him, and if everyone keeps overlooking him, then I'm even happier he's here.
Victor's reaction on the draft floor is pure shock. He actually asks, wait, really?
Kelly is prioritizing psychological safety above all else.
Kelly also drafts Maggie Moore, the babysitter, because her entire archetype revolves around caretaking.
It fits the caring vibe perfectly.
Meanwhile, Bannock is building a literal institution.
A government, basically.
Right. He drafts Rachel Aubergine, the headmaster's granddaughter, and Carter Vobbs, the prince.
Because Bannock recognizes that leadership isn't just about inspiration.
Sometimes it is inherited through responsibility and institutional knowledge.
Right. Rachel brings an understanding of the Academy's hidden mechanics, and Carter brings innate diplomacy.
It's a deeply structural approach to community.
But I want to highlight a brilliant strategic move by Tommy in these mid-rounds.
Oh, his crucial pivot, yeah.
After drafting purely weird, creative, eccentric inventors, the tinkerer, the hacker, the craftswoman Tommy suddenly changes course in round 6.
Right, Tommy drafts Megan Johnson, the Every Girl.
Which is such a twist.
I want you, the listener, to think about why for a second, because it feels like it breaks Tommy's entire philosophy.
It seems counterintuitive, right?
Totally. If you are building a team to invent an objective from scratch through sheer weirdness, putting a completely average, grounded person in the room sounds like throwing a wet blanket on the fire. Doesn't the Every Girl stifle that exact eccentric energy Tommy wanted?
That is the natural assumption, but Tommy's explanation reveals a deep understanding of the creative process.
What did Tommy say?
Tommy says, if your entire team is weird, eventually you stop noticing the weirdness. Every inventor needs a reality check.
Oh, wow.
Tommy understands that innovation untethered from reality is just noise.
Right, you can have a room full of geniuses designing a revolutionary machine.
But you need one grounded person to walk in and say, this is great, but how does a normal person turn it on?
The every girl is the tether that keeps Tommy's balloon from floating into the stratosphere.
Exactly. You need the visionary, but you absolutely need the user tester.
That is such a profound insight into team composition. Okay, as we push into the late rounds, rounds 7 through 10, the draft pool is heavily depleted.
The elite athletes, the obvious geniuses, the social magnets, they're all gone.
This is the phase of the draft that separates the true draft masters from the amateurs. They have to find hidden value.
This is where we see the phenomenon of drafting for implications rather than drafting for titles.
Let's focus on Devin here. Devin executes this flawlessly in round 7 by selecting Robert Astermath, the Vampire.
Such a great pick.
Everyone else on the floor hears the title The Vampire, and they recoil. They are distracted by the spooky supernatural aesthetic.
But Devin completely ignores the label.
Devin drafts him for the implications. Survival, persistence, endurance. What is a vampire? It's an entity that survives centuries. It adapts.
This raises an important question about human psychology, really.
How so?
How do we look past labels? In real-world hiring, a manager might see a resume with a weird job title and immediately throw it out.
They suffer from label blindness.
Exactly. They fail to see the underlying skills. Tommy does this too, by the way.
Oh, right. By drafting Neil Nicolio, the Rat.
Tommy tells the room, you all hear the rat and think something negative. I hear someone who finds solutions nobody else sees.
Tommy recognizes that every creative workshop needs a gremlin, someone willing to crawl through the vents to find a discarded part.
It is a masterclass in looking past the surface.
But the late rounds are also defined by immense frustration.
The captains are forced to compromise.
Let's look at Val's final pick in round 10. Val, the ultimate champion of discipline, drafts Dean Hemsky, the slacker nepotist.
Which is wild.
I laughed out loud. Why would Val draft a slacker? Val drafts him out of pure frustration with his wasted potential.
Val notes that if Dean ever actually applies himself, he'll be dangerous.
It is the classic I can fix him management complex. Val arrogantly believes that her leadership can unlock his raw attributes.
It is a massive vulnerability. Val is falling victim to the sunk cost fallacy of potential.
Because in high-pressure environments, you rarely have the time to rehabilitate someone who lacks internal drive.
Right. Val is risking the culture of her entire executive board.
Meanwhile, Liz completes her absolute monarchy.
She grabs Ashley Hobbs, the fashionista, and Natalie Matthews, the titan.
Her team is pure visual and social dominance. Bianca, the photographer, literally looks at the roster and says, "You drafted your entourage."
And Liz coldly replies, leadership takes many forms.
She owns it.
We also see Mac and Addy applying the final polish to their chaotic rosters.
Mention Mac drafting a literal delinquent, J.P. McCormick.
Oh, Mac drafts JP explicitly just to have someone on the team whose sole purpose is to say, technically, we're not supposed to do this, right before they actually do it.
Mac wants the legendary story of breaking the rules.
And note Addy finishing with Sam Chiro, the rebel.
Because to Addy, an adventure without a rebel feels incomplete. Rules are more fun when they're optional.
Much to Bannock's dismay, of course. Bannock is appalled and says, that's not how rules work.
And Addy just shrugs and says, agree to disagree.
That exchange perfectly encapsulates the ideological conflict of the entire exercise.
And with that, the draft concludes. 100 students have been placed onto 10 incredibly distinct rosters.
So let's look at the final rosters and analyze what they are actually built to do.
Let's run these teams through some hypothetical stress tests, starting at the extremes of survival and order.
Let's analyze Devon's Night Watch. This is objectively the most physically dangerous team on the board.
They have the All-Star, the Bully, the Wild Card, the Vampire.
Their strength is sheer survivability and capability under pressure. If it's a hostile wilderness, they win.
Their weakness: high risk of internal conflict or going too far. You can't point a wild card at a delicate diplomatic crisis.
Right, they will tear themselves apart. Now contrast that with Kenny's Academy administration.
The most functional team. Kenny has the infrastructure. Bannock has the inspiration.
Exactly. Kenny has the information processing powerhouse. But if the objective requires rapid physical adaptation, Kenny's team freezes.
And Bannock's civic leadership core is the most cohesive team.
But if the objective requires ruthless deception, Bannock's team might be too honorable to execute it.
Okay, let's shift to the social and experiential powerhouses. Liz's Social Dynasty, which is the most popular, versus Mac's Campus Legends, which is the most fun.
If the unknown objective is a popularity contest or throwing a legendary party, these two teams win instantly.
Hands down. But if it requires intense, isolated academic focus, both teams are going to struggle severely.
Because they rely entirely on external validation. Now, point out Addy's Adventure Guild.
The most likely to accidentally discover a lost civilization.
Yes, they lack structure entirely, but their sheer serendipity and movement are unmatched.
Moving to the innovators and thinkers. Evaluate Tommy's Makerspace Collective.
They are the most creative, the ultimate wildcard team.
If they need to build a machine to solve the objective, they win.
But if they need physical combat, a team of eccentric inventors might struggle.
Compare them to Tira's Circle of Scholars, the most thoughtful, and Kelly's Found Family, the most wholesome.
These teams prioritize internal growth and understanding over external dominance.
Kelly's team will survive the psychological toll, and Tira's team will uncover the deepest philosophical truth.
But in a race against a ticking clock, they probably both finish last.
Which leaves Val's Future Leaders program,
The most ambitious team.
packed with the alpha, polymath, valedictorian, and prodigy. They are relentlessly disciplined.
They excel at traditional metrics of success. If it's a standardized test of excellence, they crush it.
But their weakness is ego. Put 10 alphas in a room, and the structure might collapse under the weight of their collective ambition.
So after analyzing all this, the strategies, the rivalries, the teams, what does this all actually mean?
To summarize, this entire draft wasn't really about the students. It was about the captains.
When you strip away the rules of the game, all you have left are your core values.
Do you value the person with the bucket at 2 a.m.? The person who can make you laugh when the world ends? Or the person who asks the best questions?
Knowledge is most valuable when understood and applied. This exercise forces us to consider our own biases in leadership and team building.
We all carry these biases into every team we build, every person we hire, and every relationship we prioritize.
We do.
Which brings us to a final provocative thought for you, the listener, to ponder.
Put yourself at that draft table.
If you were the 11th captain on that draft stage and you didn't know the objective, what would your one-sentence criteria be?
It's a tough question.
Would you draft for survival, for joy, for power, or for something else entirely?
The answer reveals exactly who you are when the blueprint is taken away.
Keep questioning your own frameworks, keep interrogating your own biases, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.